How much money do you need to start an Amazon FBA private label business in 2025? I've just recorded an updated video for the FBA Elite course, and we're going to watch that video together for free right now. And the reason I want to make this video publicly available is I don't want anyone starting an Amazon FBA business without being fully aware of the type of costs that are involved, as if you go into this with only a small budget, there is a high chance you are just going to lose that money. So that said, let's start the video. How much money do you need to start an Amazon FBA private label business? In this video, I've got two slides to show you. The first slide is the startup and ongoing costs, and then the second slide is a product comparison to give you an idea of how much costs can vary depending on the type of products that you choose to launch. So let's jump straight into it with the first slide of startup and ongoing costs. And the first cost you're going to have is registering your limited company. And if you do this direct with Companies House, this will only cost you £50. You can do it via formation companies that do offer additional benefits and perks, but usually it will be their fee on top of the Companies House fee as well. So often I just go straight to Companies House and just pay the £50 to them. You're then going to need a business bank account, and there are some providers that will do this for free, but often when you want some of the additional features such as integration with accountancy software, there will be a monthly fee. So I would budget £5 to £10 per month for a decent business bank account. You're then going to need an Amazon account, and the Amazon professional account is £25 plus VAT per month, so that's going to cost you £30 per month. You're then going to need a logo for your brand. So the brand you develop for your product, you're going to need a logo for that to go onto the product and onto the packaging. If you use somewhere like Fiverr.com and you can use freelancers, expect to pay somewhere between £20 to £50, and that will get you somewhere between 1 to 3 different concepts that you can choose from. You're also going to need GS1 barcodes to go on your product, and I've put there 10, but initially you're probably going to only need 1 for your first product, but GS1 don't sell them any less than in quantities of 10. So for 10 GS1 barcodes, it costs you £60 per year, so it's £50 plus VAT per year. I'd also highly recommend getting a trademark. This will be for your brand, and this will allow you to get Amazon brand registry so you can protect your product. This costs £170, and that includes 1 class. Now you can apply for multiple classes if you plan on selling in lots of different categories, but often just 1 class will be enough to get full brand registry protection for all of your products under that brand. I'd also recommend business insurance, although you don't necessarily need this from day one. I would say hold off until you actually start selling on Amazon and then get your business insurance, as you never know if a customer will manage to hurt themselves or hurt someone else with the products that you are selling. And the same applies to accountants. You can get one day one, or you can do it at the end of your first financial period, so about a year or so into your business. Now, often the accountant will charge the same regardless, so often it's not a bad idea to sign up from day one and just pay that monthly fee, as it's going to cost you the same for the first year as if you signed up at the end of the year, so you might as well get that additional support throughout the year as well. Now, Link My Books is a piece of software that will connect Amazon and all of their invoicing to your accountancy software, and that's about £15 per month depending on how many transactions you have. And another thing you may want to consider is buying the domain name for the brand name that you have launched. Now, this by no means is essential, it is purely optional, but is quite a nice thing to have, especially if you plan to sell the business at some point in the future. If you've got the .com or the .co.uk or both domain names, it's quite a nice extra to have. And you can also then set up an email, so it could be your name at yourcompanyname.co.uk or your name at yourbrandname.co.uk or .com. So for something around about £20 per year from most providers, if the domain name is available, of course. And then finally, as an ongoing cost, you're going to need something like Helium 10, which is what you're going to use as your sales estimator tool. You're going to use it to track how your products are performing for your keyword research, lots of other features. So you're going to need some sort of Amazon software to help you throughout this journey. My recommendation is Helium 10, and that's what I use to support my own Amazon FBA business. So those are some of the startup and ongoing costs you may face. Now, on the next slide, I have 2 different types of products. And the reason I wanted to break this down is everyone's got a different size budget. So there's no good me just saying to you, starting Amazon costs X amount, because everyone will choose a different product and everyone will do it in a slightly different way, and people will choose different things that are essential to them regardless of my recommendations. So here I've got 2 products for comparison. The first one I've called a high budget product, as it's going to have a higher number of sales, you're going to need more inventory, so the costs are going to be higher. And I've got a low budget product as well, which has much lower demand. So let's go through some of these costs. The first thing, whether you're doing a high demand product or a low demand product, or a high cost or a low cost product, is you're going to need samples. Now, I would recommend buying competitor products from Amazon first. These are a lot cheaper. So go to Amazon, see who you're going to be competing with, buy their products. These are going to cost you maybe 10, 20, 30 pounds for a sample. You then get a good understanding of the type of products you're up against. And also those products will help you develop your own specification before you go to suppliers and get their sample. So you can tell suppliers exactly what you want, rather than just going to suppliers and say, oh, send me a sample of this first, when you've got no idea what you actually want. So you're going to spend 10 to 30 pounds for Amazon samples. And then if you do get full samples from Alibaba, which I would recommend later on in the process, you're going to spend probably somewhere between 50 to 100 pounds per sample. So it depends how many samples you get and how many rounds you do as to how much you spend on samples. Next up, we have photography. I would highly recommend getting professional photography for your product, even if you're good with a camera. Are you used to shooting products? They have to be shot in a particular way. And that's the same if you know a photographer. Make sure they're used to shooting retail products like this. Now, they might be good at doing wedding photography. That doesn't mean they're going to know how to take photos to make a product look good on Amazon. I've got a couple of example costs here. So for example, if you were doing a location shoot and the photographer had to come to site, and maybe you needed a pet or an actor to be there to be in these shots, then you're going to spend a lot more. It might cost you, say, £500 for the day. Or if you're just sending your product to a photographer and they're just going to shoot it in their studio, it might only cost a couple of £100. So that gives you an idea of how the costs may vary. Packaging design, I would highly recommend getting high quality packaging designed for your product. However, depending on the type of product, some products don't necessarily need fancy packaging, and you might just say to the supplier, can't you just put my logo on the packaging? And in which case it won't cost you anything to design that. So I've put £50 if you're going to use someone from like Fiverr, or I've put £0 if you are just going to get the manufacturer to put your logo on the product and on the packaging and not do any fancy design work. And the same applies to a product insert design. You can do a nice fancy insert that may increase the chances of getting additional reviews or promoting any other things you want to promote. You have to be very careful though, because Amazon do have strict terms around inserts, but also inserts aren't essential. So you can skip this to keep the costs down. And the same applies to 3D renders. Maybe there's a particular part of your product that you just cannot show in a normal photo. Maybe you need to do an exploded view of part of the product. And that's where a 3D render can be really helpful. So if you do a 3D render, it might cost you maybe £25, maybe a bit more, or you don't need to, and in which case the cost would be £0. Now the next one is the biggest cost, and that is the first order, the first bulk order of inventory. I would recommend ordering about 3 months of stock. So in month 1, you're going to be launching your product and getting a feel for how it's selling. And if things go well, you'll probably then reorder your second batch. And you've got a couple of months of stock before your next batch arrives. So hopefully you can avoid going out of stock, or if you do go out of stock, it's only for a short period of time. The other thing to keep in mind when ordering stock is often you'll need to order that second batch of inventory before you get the money back from your first batch. So I've put the budget there for a single batch, but keep in mind you are going to need to fund the second batch, as almost at all times of Amazon, you're invested in 2 lots of inventory. The first batch of inventory that's at the factory being manufactured, and the second batch of inventory, which is actually at Amazon being sold. And you just keep going round and round in that cycle. And I've got 2 examples here. So we've got the first product there that is selling 300 units per month. So I've said to order 900 units. And let's say we can order these 900 units at £5. That would be £4,500. And you can see that I've put FOB, which is one of the shipping terms. So FOB is basically freight on board or free on board. And that means the manufacturer will make the goods and get it to the nearest port. You are then responsible for importing into the UK the customs duty and the VAT, which I'll show you in a moment. And on the low budget product there, I've said if we're selling 100 units per month, we're going to need 300 units for the first 3 months. And I've put at £5, but this time DDP. So maybe you found a cheaper product that you can source at £5 DDP, which is delivery duty paid. So that is the manufacturer making the goods, shipping the goods to the UK, and also covering the customs duty and VAT. So you can take either approach. That most suppliers will offer either. For many new sellers, DDP often works out cheaper, especially on smaller shipments and arranging your own freight forwarder. But as you progress with your Amazon business and you start ordering larger quantities and you become VAT registered, then you may switch to FOB so you can actually claim back the VAT that you would have been paying on those imports. So the next couple of costs, we've got shipping and insurance. So with the high budget product, shipping costs vary massively all the time. So I've just put an absolute example figure here of £1,000, but this could easily be £800. This could easily be £2,000. Shipping varies a lot. And for the low budget product, I've put 0 because that's included in that DDP, the delivery duty paid cost. We've then got customs duty. The percent of customs duty will vary depending on the type of product, and I'll show you later on in the course how you can look this up. As an example, I've just put 5%. So to calculate what this actually means, you take the value of the goods, so 4,500, you'd add £1,000 on, which is your shipping and insurance. You'd then times it by the 5%, which gives you £275. And again, for the low budget there, it's 0 because it's included in the DDB cost. And then we've got the VAT on the import as well. So you add the bulk order cost plus the shipping cost plus the customs duty, and then you pay VAT on all of that. So yes, you actually pay VAT on the customs duty as well. Whereas with the DDB cost, it is included. We've then got the product inspection, which I would say is essential for any products. That's why I put it across both columns. And depending on who you use, it's going to cost you somewhere between £100 to £200, but definitely get an inspection done whilst the products are in China before they leave China. So if there are any issues, the manufacturer can rectify them. I don't pay the balance of the order payment until that inspection has passed and I am happy with what the manufacturer has produced. And then finally, you also need to budget for PPC. Now, PPC costs will vary massively depending on the niche that you're going into and also the number of sales you need to hit to get ranked on Amazon. So I've got a couple of very rough examples there based on each sale costing you about £5 of PPC spend. So if we need to match or surpass the existing competition in terms of sales to have a reasonable chance of getting ranked on Amazon, this is how we're going to do it. So if you need to sell 300 units per month, that's around about 10 units per day. So if we're selling 10 units per day and we're spending £5 on PPC per unit, that's around £50 per day. So that would be about £1,500 for the month. The one thing to keep in mind with PPC is it can be deducted from your sales proceeds. So if you are making sales on Amazon, your PPC cost can be deducted from that revenue. So you may not necessarily have to budget for this separately if it can be drawn from that revenue. And for the low budget product, because we're only selling 100 units per month, that's around 3 units per day. At £5 per sale, that is £15 per day. So around about £450 per month on PPC to launch a product that needs about 100 sales per month to get ranked. All right, guys, so hopefully you found that video helpful. If you did and you want to know more about the FBA Elite course, just go to fbaelite.com. That will bring you to this website and then just click on the course link and that will take you directly to the course website where there's a video telling you everything that's included with the course. I'll also put a direct link in the pinned top comment. If you just want to get started with Amazon FBA and you want to find your first product, I'm going to pop up a video now which will show you how you can find your first product today, and I'll see you guys over there.